Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott MacKenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
All right, once again, thank you very much for joining Industrial Talk, and thank you for your continued support of a platform that is dedicated to industrial professionals all around the world. You are bold, you are brave, you dare greatly, you innovate, you collaborate, you solving problems each and every day. That's why we celebrate you on this platform, Industrial Talk. Thank you once again for your continued support. We are broadcasting at OMG's Q1 meeting here in Reston, Virginia. And it is, again, a collection of incredible professionals focused on solving today's challenges and making the world a better place. That's why we are here, and we are interviewing some of the best leaders in the industry. And in the hot seat, speaking of leaders, we've got two. Erik Hendriks and Justin Wilson. And we're going to be talking about DDS, and you're saying to yourself, Scott, I don't know what that is. Well, you will. Stay tuned. It's coming your way. Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good.
Right.
Thank you for having us.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you for your flexibility again. Because we were running late on the last conversation, and, you know, you guys were very kind and flexible. Appreciate that. The conference, how long you guys have been a part of OMG and I know they got, it's easier for me to just say OMG. How long, Justin?
So this is actually my first year.
Shut the front door.
Is attending an OMG meeting. Before that, one of my colleagues attended for a number of years and has been involved. I don't know how long, but he's kind of transitioning out, and I'm transitioning in. So this is kind of my first year getting my feet wet.
What about you, Erik?
You may remember yesterday that we did the cake cutting for 20 years of DDS. I actually joined OMG right then when we were standardizing DDS, and that's why we joined OMG.
Yeah, well, you're telling Justin to say, don't do that, do this, go over there, don't go over there.
Well, I don't need to. He's a good professional, and I can see he's experienced in the matter. So
before we get going, let's talk a little bit about background. Erik, give us a little background on who you are outside of the fact that you've been part of this for 20 years. That's a long time.
Yeah, I'm a senior architect at Zetascale. I'm fully involved in DDS. Been working on DDS really for the last 20 years.
What does DDS, the acronym, stand for?
DDS stands for Data Distribution System.
Good. Got it.
And to try and give a little bit context to it, data distribution service is about how to get data from its source to its destination. And there's many ways to do that, but you want to do it in a way where the application that needs the data or that is providing the data doesn't need to know about anything involved in the transport. You try to decouple applications to such an extent that they don't even know of each other's existence. And so it's sort of a magical box. I put something in, and everyone that needs it will get it. And I don't need to be concerned at how it's done. But I can be sure that if it's done in the most efficient way. And that makes DDS unique when you compare it to other middlewares.
See. We're going to riff on that. Justin, a little background on who you are.
I'm with currently Unity Foundation and OpenDDS Foundation jointly. I'm a principal software engineer there. Before that, I was at a company called Object Computing, which was a member of the OMG before. And while I was there, I was heavily involved in IoT applications that involved DDS.
Yeah. See, this is interesting because in today's world, everybody wants to be connected. Everybody wants that data. Everybody wants that data efficiently and accurately, and everybody wants to be able to take that historical data and clean it up and scrub it so that we can create a picture of where the business, and then run simulations and doing all the stuff that is, and it's happening now. But see, many people don't realize and recognize how challenging the ability to be able to get the data from one place to another into that area. So that whole process. I remember when I long ago, when we were installing systems back years ago, it was always, what data do you want? Okay, we want that data. Well, that data resides over here. Well, how do we get that data over there? That conversation happened all the time. How do we get that going? Justin, for that sake, just help us understand a little bit about the foundation, what it's all about, and how you're facilitating that effort.
Right. So Open DDS Foundation is for the open source implementation of DDS. There are proprietary vendors. Our particular implementation is open source, which means you can download it and use it for free. There's another foundation involved here called DDS Foundation, which is really the consortium of all the vendors. And its main purpose is to just advocate DDS, educate people about what it is, so that people start using it, start benefiting from it, benefiting from the decoupling that it gives you, so that you can write applications more efficiently, and you can just be more productive.
How does that happen, Erik? With that said, how does it make it simpler, easier, stronger, faster, whatever you want to say? Let's say I'm a manufacturer and I'm a guy who owns this manufacturing process, and I'm interested in getting the data. Somebody says I need to be connected. I have to have these devices out there. I got to do all of this stuff. Tell me how this helps me.
So what is important when you talk about DDS is that it's very different from how a lot of people are educated. Most people are educated in the client-server model. So you're a client, and everything starts with, you need to go to the server. And you already started with, I need to get my data. So that means you need to know where to get it from. So DDS sort of flips it around. DDS says, you shouldn't need to know all this. You should specify what you're interested in, and we'll bring it to you. So it's what we call the data-centric approach, where basically if you look at the history of any distributed system, systems evolve over time. And so applications that we were running 20 years ago don't look at all like what applications look right now. But if you look at the core of what a system does, I have a background in naval combat systems, and you look at, let's say, 100 years ago, and you look at the current combat systems, what is the essence of a combat system? Well, there's these plots that you're following, and they have coordinates, and they have a speed, and there's a sensor that detects the plot, and there is a processor that needs to do calculation where it's going. And if you look at a system like that and you say, what's the information flow that goes through the system, that is actually very stable. It's a very domain-specific information set that hardly changes over time, even though applications from now can do very different things than applications in the past. The information that's being exchanged is actually very stable. So why not go away from the focus on the application and go to the data that is being exchanged? And then from the application perspective, I can just say, I need a plot. I don't care who is giving me the information about this plot. It could be a radar, it could be a camera, it could be anything. But I need coordinates and speed, like it needs to be XYZ, or it needs to be another coordinate system. But I need to specify what I want, and I need to specify what the quality should be, what publishing frequency should I expect, and so I sort of create this contract, like this is my need, this is what I want. And somebody that is offering information like this will have a contract that looks very similarly, like this is what I'm offering, this is my quality, I'm publishing with this frequency, I'm reliable, if something gets dropped during transmission, I'll try to retransmit. And so now the middleware is the middleman. It discovers all these contracts, it compares the contracts, and it determines, hey, I see that you're interested in some data that this guy is offering. Okay, you guys have a match. I'm going to make sure that what you publish is pushed to that destination. And if I'm a sensor and there's like one node that's interested, I can unicast it. If there's more than one node, I can try to multicast. I can try to find a more efficient transport that I don't need to repetitively put the same data on the bus or on the wire. So DDS solves a lot of things that typically applications try to solve. But in this case, the applications are just very simple. I have something to offer the system, so I have a call to write it, and that's it. And somebody else needs information, he has a call to read it and to be notified when it's there. But that's the essence of DDS, that applications can be very simple, and all the stuff that you typically would solve in applications, you solve by specifying what you want to do in a contract. And DDS then takes care of it for you.
So, Justin, it's incumbent upon me. I'm trying to bring it down to this human level. It's incumbent upon me. I don't care. All I want is 2024 quarterly financials. Sort of that's the prompt. Sure. Mm-hmm. And then what Erik was saying, it just the system has it. It's out there. It's the application has that information. So is it DDS goes and gets it and pulls it back? Paint that picture, sort of. Bring it a little bit more in a picture here.
So we use the term publish and subscribe. You've got applications that are publishing data. They're in control of it. They own it, and they're offering it to whoever.
It doesn't matter.
That's right.
Okay.
And the subscriber, on the other hand, is expressing an interest.
Me.
Right. And part of that is this contract that he's talking about as to, do you want it to be reliable? Do you want to see data that's from the past? All of these things. Now, the publisher and the subscriber kind of have to agree on that contract, but in principle, that's the essence of it, is that you can stand up what we call a topic, which is this collection of data. You as an application can subscribe to that topic. I as a publisher can publish that topic, and you'll receive that data. Now, another application comes along and wants the same data. So what do? You don't have to rewrite me. You don't have to affect the publisher. You just have to write a new subscriber that accesses the data the same way. And it's the DDS middleware's responsibility to make sure that both subscribers or all subscribers are satisfied.
Because I want the data. I want data from here, there, over there. I want data from various systems. I'm not even going to throw a spreadsheet in. I don't want a spreadsheet. But I want data from all over the place brought into to paint that picture.
So compare it to a relational database.
Yes.
Right? You know what type of information you want. So you need to know the table in which that information is at. That is given. If you say I want the quarterly numbers for this financial thing, that in a relational database would be a certain table. So that's the knowledge you need. But what you don't need is, where is this database residing? Like, is it in one location? Is it multiple locations?
It just happens.
It just happens. So the only thing that you need is the source of information, which would be in a relational database, would be the table. And in DDS terms, we would call it the topic. Uh-huh. And you could give in your contract like what quality you want this information with. If it's information that is updated with a very high frequency, you might say, well, if a sample is lost during transmission and I would need to wait until it's retransmitted, I'm actually holding up like everything that would come afterward. I sort of have a temporary stop and then I have to catch up again. Maybe it's just better to say, let that sample be. The next one is already coming up. So that would be one of the things I could specify in my contract. Don't bother retransmitting samples lost during transmission because the next one is already around the corner. On the other way around, if it's low frequency data, I could say, no, I really need every update. So it has to be reliable. And so both the publisher and the subscriber would have this in their contract. And so if I say I have to get my data reliably, I want to make sure I'm not missing any sample, but a publisher is saying, well, I'm not going to retransmit, then we have incompatible contracts. We're talking about the same data, but the way in which I want to have guarantees about my data is not compatible with that publisher. And so what DDS does in that case is say, well, you have a mismatch in contracts, so I'm not going to make you communicate because I would potentially violate somebody's contract, but I am going to notify both of you. Hey, you have an interest that is compatible, but the quality is not compatible. So I notify both of you that there's this incompatibility, and then the application can determine what to do in that case. They could reevaluate their contract and say, well, maybe I would change my contract to comply with what is available, or I just wait for somebody else to offer the same data but with a contract that is compatible to mine.
How do I set this up? Let's say I'm a company. I've got multiple systems because I've been in business forever. And so I definitely have multiple sources of data, applications, whatever how do you approach a company to say, hey, there's a better way of getting this data that maybe you need to be aware of? How do you set that up, Justin?
So the way that I've kind of seen it in the past is that a lot of companies evolve their own homegrown publish-subscribe system.
Yep.
And when you come in, you can approach them and saying, a lot of that effort that you exerted that had nothing to do with your application, it was all about, well, how do I move this data from here to here? How do I retransmit? We say, we can take care of all of that for you. We can eliminate that effort and that ongoing maintenance effort, and you guys can just focus on your applications. So if they're already set up for publish subscribe, it's usually a pretty light lift to say, you've got applications that are publishing, use this API from DDS, you can start publishing your data, same way on the receiving side. That's usually a relatively light lift. For other applications, then it largely depends just on how they're structured as to if DDS is going to be the right solution for them or not. But it's largely thinking about, how do I decouple? How do I think in terms of just data that I can publish for the benefit of my organization, and then data that's there for me to consume for the benefit of whatever I need to do.
It's interesting.
It's a change in mindset.
It is. I can't say that I'm struggling. I know that I have, from a historical perspective, I know that it's been, data was everything. And especially today, right? This market, this where we are today, everybody wants to get data because we have solutions and technology in such a way that can truly benefit from the accurate collection of data.
Absolutely.
And we can talk about frequency, we can talk about all of that, but it has to be, data's it.
Right.
And there is the necessity to be flexible and nimble enough, because maybe somebody else wants more data over here or whatever, something new, something attached, something. And
one of the things I'll say is that you may be using DDS and you might not even realize it.
Yeah.
Because it's usually layered in something else. There's automotive standards, there's transportation standards that are all built on top of DDS that's using it as that interoperable way of communicating, but then they then extend it or clarify it or restrict it in some way to be specific to the application that they want to solve, controlling trains or having an automobile interact with a transportation system or something like that. So you may already be there, but it provides this great flexibility where I can now tap into this piece of information. I can tap into that piece of information. It's already there and ready for me to go. I don't have to contact the vendor of that piece of equipment or something to have them make a special modification for me. It's just there. I just have to go get it. I just have to write my application and find it.
Erik, I always ask the question of the future. Where do you see DDS going? Because everybody wants data. Everybody. I mean, it's just what's sort of that next thing within the world of DDS?
I think scalability is a big issue. What you see is systems growing in size over time. There's more sources where data needs to come from.
Yeah.
There's bigger volumes of data, and so often what you see is that there's scalability issues. That if you grow the number of nodes that participate in a system, then the performance just goes down and down and down and down. So one of the things that we're really trying to address is in DDS is to make sure that whatever approach you take, it should be scalable. And another thing that I think is more and more coming to us is like big data. And so what you see already in people that are processing big data is that they're no longer the what will you call it, the programmers that know every bit, they're writing in much higher level languages like Python, and so they would benefit from higher level languages and higher level constructs. And I think for something like DDS, we would try to also cater to them. For example, by offering Python language bindings, and then the third part that I think is really important is security.
We didn't even touch on that.
Some information is publicly available. Everyone should be able to access it, but some other information should definitely not be available to everyone. And it's not only that I don't want to give information to some people that are not authorized to get it, but I also want to make sure that nobody's snooping on the wire to see what I'm doing. And that's also something that DDS is growing in.
You guys are great. That was a great conversation. I really enjoyed that one. I got it. Anything to make data collection easier and painless and frictionless I'm all in. Big thumbs up with what you guys are doing. Justin, how do people get a hold of you?
The best way is opendds.org is where the OpenDDS Foundation is.
But you're out on LinkedIn, right? No?
I'm not. I'm a Luddite, man. I work with technology, but I'm a Luddite.
Wow. Man, we should just clip your ear and just say, oh my gosh. And how about you, Erik?
You can find me on LinkedIn if you look Erik Hendriks, but it's important. It's not with CK. Erik is just a K. Hendriks is with just KS.
Yes.
Erik Hendriks and Zetascale, and you should find my LinkedIn, and there's some information about our company and our other products that we also have.
You guys are wonderful. Sorry. I'm going to be posting our pictures, but you're not going to see them because, you're not on LinkedIn. All right. Thank you guys very much. All right, listeners, we're going to have all the contact information for these two gents out on Industrial Talk. Thank you very much. Connect with them. You will not be disappointed because they know what they're talking. You need Sherpas like these two gents. Big time. All right, we're broadcasting from OMG. Go out to omg.org. Get engaged. Be a part of the ever-expanding ecosystem of problem solvers that exist at OMG. All right, stay tuned. We will be right back.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
How about that for a conversation? There is so much happening in the world of industry. So many things that we just don't know taking place. It's an exciting time. Gosh, it's just, I have all the respect that I can possibly have for individuals like Justin and Erik that give of their time to create the standards necessary. What, DDS, Data Distribution Services. We just take it for granted that data goes from one system to the next, and it just happens. But we don't see what's in the middle, and that's what they do. That's what everybody does at OMG. They just give of their time and effort and their treasure, and it's an amazing organization. You need to go out to omg.org and see how you can get engaged, because you'll come in contact with some really incredible people like Erik and Justin. All right. You have a podcast, put it out on Industrial Talk. You want to be on a podcast, put it out on Industrial Talk. We're going to have another great conversation shortly, so stay tuned. We will be